Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes you're asleep. Now, this happens to the best of us, even myself. Sometimes you literally are sleeping and you don't realize it. You don't realize you could be watching the best shit you can ever imagine, or you just choose not to watch it at all. From fantasy to action to thriller to sports. Okay, maybe not sports, but through it all, Scavengers Reigns has everything and above. What do you want?
They often see what we can't see, wearing a smile.
I was honestly pleasantly surprised with this. I can't even say I even fell in love with this concept that was Scavengers Reign. Now, I should probably explain the story of Scavengers Reign before I get into anything that I liked or disliked. So here we go. So Scavengers Reign starts out as a space crew, as any space crew does, goes out and voyages into the fucking stars, and an explosion happens and they all get stuck on this planet. Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, no, I think that's it.
Give us a little more!
Going a little bit more into detail. Now, the ship blows up, but the thing is with the ship is still intact and has a whole bunch of people in cryostasis, and a whole bunch of survivors went onto this planet, and they're basically trying to survive. And now that is all your little grumpy hands will get, because they literally go straight into what is going on in Scavengers Reign, and then just the survivors surviving on this planet. Now, that leads me to my first positive. They get straight into it. Now, I'm not talking about straight into the action, but they're straight into what the survivors have been doing since they've landed on this planet, and there surprisingly isn't a dull moment. The reason why there's not a dull moment is because we have three groups of people that we follow throughout this story. Now, these three groups are Sam as well as Ursula, then we have Levi and Ozzy, and then we have Cayman and someone that I don't want to get into grave detail. But we follow these three groups the whole way through in the story, and the reason why this is so good is because we flick through like a switch through a TV whenever one event happens, and it finishes instantly. We get into the next character, and then we instantly get to next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and we keep going until we go to the next episode. And if done right, it can be masterful, and oh my god, is it done right. With me having to say, I don't feel like it's a dull moment in the show because the show doesn't let it happen. It always has something interesting or something to dwell in my mind for me to be like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting. Whether that be the life that we see surrounding this planet, or the animals, or how they react to certain situations and certain events that they get put in place. This show isn't walking slowly behind you waiting for you to notice it. This show isn't a full sprint, and has been the whole time, and you haven't realized it until it's too fucking late. And I also would have to say that I genuinely think this is one of the top 5 shows or top 3 shows of a crew where I feel the most bad for. From their own past, their struggles, their life, their hopes, their desires, their nightmares, it all coincides on this planet. Not only showing you their true faces, but also what they're willing to do to get home. Something else I have to go over is just the designs when it comes to all this wildlife on this planet, and even the wildlife itself. They make so many interesting concepts as well as ideas of how they look or how they act or what they do to survive on this planet. Feeling like I'm getting multiple shorts or movies when it comes to me watching every episode, but it's always the same constant goal that we're striving for. Or something as beautiful and bright as the sun on a nice day to something that could be very dark, icky, unpleasant like mud on a rainy day. And something minor I might want to add is that I love the idea of them going to this objective. Their objective of getting to the ship, getting to this thing that feels hopeful. It feels like you want to do it, but it feels impossible at the same time. With how many trials and tribulations must I go through before I reach my goal? If I reach my goal, can I reach my goal? Did I reach my goal? Is this my goal? Now that's all I want to say. That does not include spoilers, so I am going to be doing spoilers from here on out. I highly suggest Scavengers Reign. If you don't want to get spoiled, go ahead and watch it. It is a tnjugo sign of a fucking approval, I promise. Go ahead, watch it. You're gonna have a good time. Now I really would just want to go into characters, right? Now I'm gonna go into characters some with greater detail than others, but some of them I really did like a lot more, and I really did pay attention a lot more. I'm sorry, some of them I didn't pay attention as much or like as much, even though I do like all of them. Like, that's kind of weird to say. But anyways, let's get into it. The first group I wanted to get into is Sam and Ursula. Now with Sam and Ursula, I feel like with Ursula, she is very fast in her movement. She's very fast on what she's doing, and she's very fast when making decisions, even when it might not be the best decision, but it might be the only decision in this situation. And she's more accepting of the situation, of what is going on, and more accepting of all of the wildlife and all the events that she sees. It makes sense by the time that we get to the end of the series. She accepts the idea of staying on this planet, living on this planet, and living with all the wildlife of how crazy it could be, because she's already seen multiple other wildlife and connected with it, had relationships with it in a significant way that's only between them two, by having the understandings of dangers as well as the beauty of the nature itself. But it also kind of felt like Sam was like the test dummy and Ursula was just the tutorial that she's learning from a video game a little bit. And then there's Sam, with Sam only being slow in the terms of him thinking about the nature or the planet itself, him only being headstrong in the idea of getting on the ship and getting the fuck off of this planet. And something that I felt like with Sam is that he goes through the 5 stages of grief, but for his own death, with the first stage being the easiest, which will be denial that you're going to die on this planet, the denial that I'm going to get to the ship and we are going to make it together. The second one, which is also another easy one, which would be anger. He's very angry at Kaiman for what he did. He's angry that he made them all be in this situation, and being angry for good reason, him dying on this planet with not seeing his wife or maybe even his friends ever again. With the added bonus, it's someone else's fault because they wanted to save their own ass instead of thinking of anyone else but himself. But not getting ahead of myself when it comes to Kaiman. The next one, which could be a bit tricky, but I think can be said in 2 different scenarios, right? It is the bargain. I believe the bargaining is just the plant parasite itself. Him accepting or forcibly getting accepted to the idea of him being a warrior of the lands or a man of the lands, but a parasite is attached to you. A parasite is basically controlling your actions and making more other parasites with this plant and seed, forcing you to do something. But the bargaining is that the grief is gone. The idea of I can accept where I'm at and what I'm doing. But something I'm going to go a little bit more into detail in is the depression. Now, as we all know, depression can sometimes creep up on you. Sometimes depression can be there for a long period of time and you not even know it existed. There were times where he started to tell stories about his dead friend where he saw an omen of his death, and he then sees borderline the same omen himself later on. Then he sees all of his friends die literally on the planet from not being able to sustain themselves on the planet from any other way of which way of death of how they died. We don't know, but they definitely died horrific deaths. That is just circling back to the parasite that's in his chest in the first place. And you can borderline said he goes through every single one of these stages in his head just from the look on his face and the actions that he's about to commit or about to do, or the parasite is forcing upon him, that he's like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want. I'm in denial. I have anger. I'm bargaining with myself. I have depression. I tried to almost kill my friend here and there, until he gets to acceptance. He accepts that he wants to die. He accepts that she has the responsibility of waking everyone up on the ship. She has the responsibility of doing what needs to be done. I accept my death and I accept what is going to happen to me. I accept it all. Ursula, do what needs to be done. Then there's team 2, which is Ozzy and Levi, and with Ozzy and Levi surviving on this planet for a unknown amount of time. But with Ozzy, it feels like she's always been used to being alone. She's been a planetary freighter and she always switches up teams every few months, so she never really gets a connection or has the chance to really talk to anyone ever, which would definitely carry a toll on you. And it really does get shown here from the way how cold she really is with Levi as a partner, and having Levi sort of help her all the way through, with Levi being an AI robot that does a lot for her in this journey of getting to the ship. But in the same breath, it feels like with Ozzy, she learns to kind of accept this, kind of be open and more free when it comes to having friends or talking to people and being more just open in general. It's compassion, something that we've been seeing be developed throughout this whole series. Also, not taking for granted the time you spend with people, no matter how little it is. Where she even hugs Ursula when she sees her. She actually doesn't go for a handshake. She's like, oh my god, I actually see another person. Something she would have never done in the beginning of her journey. Then there's also Mia, someone that she was having romantic feelings with on the ship before, and someone that she's actually quite fond. You also have the great fondness that she has for Levi. She actually really cares for Levi, and you see it at first. It feels like something that's like, oh, pretty minor of caring, but like, I need you to survive on a planet, to actually really caring about you and wanting you to survive and seeing you as a person. Then there's also Levi, an artificial AI that turned into something more when it had got a bit of fungi into its system, and then it became more self-aware. It became more human, or even something more than that. If I had to call it like I see it, I would have to say that she was more of a caretaker to the planet. She wanted to care more for the planet, whether it be growing out crops, seeing to other animals, and doing other things than doing the objective. Her objective was to make sure Ozzy's okay. Ozzy's fine. You serve Ozzy. And instead, she broke free of it. She had her own free will to do what she freely wanted to do. You can see her breaking those shackles slowly but surely by not listening to some commands here and there, by doing her own thing, especially when Ozzy is sleeping or when Ozzy is occupied doing something else. Then there's Levi doing her own thing off to the side, being oneself while knowing oneself. But moving on to the last duo, which would be Kaiman.
Boo, you fucking stink, Kaiman!
And as well as, you know what, I'll just call the monster Pseudo Fiona, because it likes taking the identity of Fiona the whole way through. Now, Kaiman and Fiona have a very, very toxic relationship, with the relationship literally starting off with Kaiman being extremely scared, but Fiona coming in and just putting all of this toxic, disgusting black waste inside of Kaiman and controlling him, basically being again a parasite, but it's in a toxic love kind of way, because Fiona kind of feels for Kaiman, even though they're just there to do their job, which would be to get them food to become a bigger entity in the long run of the nature part of this planet. But Fiona grows somewhat of a feeling for Kaiman. Fiona gives Kaiman this goo so Kaiman can feel good. He can feel like he's actually with Fiona, with the Fiona of his past, can relive all of his memories, can live all in these good and great moments, but that's not obviously really happening. With the added bonus of faking like this actually is Fiona when it's not, saying, oh, I'm Fiona, oh, you would definitely love me and you're gonna do anything and everything for me, which at first is forcefully but then turns into willingly. And this could be looked at in so many other ways, whether it just be this fake Fiona as well as Kaiman, and you looking at it in a horoscope of, hey, someone doing all of these things for you and it will never do it in return, or just the idea of Kaiman kind of getting what he wants, which is the goo itself, to feel good, to feel whole, to feel the good memories instead of the bad memories of him being here right now, and sort of the monster getting nothing in return, not really that love that Kaiman can never give except for the real Fiona herself. And then there's just the idea of filling this empty void with things, of whether they be materialistic or whether they be relationships or just love or just accepting something that you really shouldn't be accepting, aka that fucking black goo, and letting it build up until you don't have any control anymore, or you don't want the control anymore. You want someone else to take over because you can't handle what's going on. But I think that's a great turning part to talk about Kaiman. Kaiman himself was someone I felt really bad for, someone I felt that was getting used and abused, and the more that we saw him, the more I understand Kaiman is a fucking bastard. He only thought about himself. He never really thought about the real Fiona, or he never really thought about anything else but his career, or him moving up in the ladder, or him just doing what's best for Kaiman himself. And it's something that the real Fiona saw, that she noticed that, and she's like, no, you don't care about me, you don't care about anything else. And when she even tried to repair it, he still fucks it up again by thinking about work again, with so much desperation and non-self-worth that he literally led the deaths of so many people on that ship for no reason. And just as an added bonus, it happened so much so to the point where this alien couldn't even fathom the idea that it didn't love it. It didn't actually have feelings for it. It thought it could fill a void that was not fillable unless you have your own self-worth, unless you work on yourself to become a better person. But I had a really good time with Scavengers Arena. I highly suggest it. I do want to say thank you for this guy right here, this comment, for suggesting this. He was saying how good it was, and you know what, I said I was gonna go check it out. Remember, your comments always do matter in the comment section, or if you guys just want to chat out with me in the comments, I am always there. But like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye.